Welcome to the nuKnee Flexibility and Balance module. For this module, you will need a yoga mat, a towel or a pillow, and a chair. The purpose of this module is to create increased range of motion and flexibility in the tissues surrounding the knee. We will then follow it up by creating increased balance and stability in the entire lower leg. For some of the exercises in this module, we will be in a kneeling position. Make sure you have extra padding or support if you're feeling any discomfort while being in these positions. For our first exercise, we're going to complete our heel drives and knee drives. So David's going to grab the towel and have a seat on the floor for the modified version, while Trisha's grabbing a chair for the advanced version. If you're completing the modified version, make sure you stay up nice and tall with your upper back. Grab the towel with both hands and place it around your right ankle, and start to slide your heel towards your butt. Extend your leg for a stretch in the back of your leg, and pull your heel towards your butt for a bend on that right knee. If you're completing the advanced version like Trisha, stay up nice and tall on the chair, place your left heel on the ground for support, and all of your weight on your left leg. You'll notice that Trisha's driving her right knee forward, holding for just a second, and then straightening out her right leg. Remember, the goal of this exercise is to begin to warm up your right knee for the flexibility and balance portion of this module. Go ahead and switch sides. So Trisha's going to stand on her right leg with her left knee on the chair, bringing her left leg straight forward so that she gets a good bend in that left knee, holding for just a second, and then straightening back. David is sitting nice and tall with a towel wrapped around his left heel, pulling his arms towards his chest, bending that left knee, and then straightening his leg. Remember to maintain a nice controlled pace with this exercise. The goal is not to place any extra stress on your knee, just to warm it up and create some flexion and extension before we proceed into the more challenging exercises. Great work. Go ahead and put your chair away if you were completing the advanced version. And David's going to stand up, fold his towel, and he's going to grab a chair for the modified version for increased balance during this exercise. Both David and Trisha have placed a towel or a pillow underneath their right knee for support, and David has his hands on a chair for more balance. The goal of this exercise is to drive your left knee forward and feel a stretch in the front of your right hip, and then drive your knee back and stretch the back of your left leg. So as we drive our leg forward and bring our knee back, not only are we gaining flexion and extension, but we're creating flexibility in the front of our right hip and the back of our left leg. Again, you'll notice that David has his hands on the chair for increased balance and support, while Trisha's hands are on her hips. Continue to drive that left knee forward as far as you can without placing any extra stress on that knee, and then straightening out that leg to feel a stretch in the back of that left knee. Go ahead and move your foot off to a 45-degree angle and complete the same movement. This will create a different level of flexibility in the front of that right hip and the back of that left leg. Trisha's hands are on her hips so that she maintains a neutral pelvis while she completes this exercise, and David's continuing to hold on to the chair for increased balance and support. Drive that knee forward, stretch the front of that right hip, straighten out that left leg, and stretch the back of that left knee. Continue moving forward and back, gaining flexibility and range in both your knee and your hips. Now let's go ahead and switch sides. So place your towel on the mat with your right knee on the towel or pillow for support. Place your right foot forward and drive your knee forward and begin to feel a stretch on the front of your left hip, and then straighten out your leg and feel a stretch on the back of your right leg. Drive that knee forward, stretch that left hip flexor, and straighten out that leg and lift the toe to feel a stretch on the right hamstring muscles. Remember, if you need more balance and support, put your hands on a chair or a wall like David is doing. Great work. Let's continue to gain some range and some flexibility in our knee and our hip, which will help us in our future exercises. Great work. Now move your foot off to a 45-degree angle and complete that same movement. Driving your hips at a little bit of an angle changes the flexibility of that hip, but allows for greater range of motion in our groin and pelvis area. Straighten out that leg, feel a stretch in the hamstring. Bring that right knee forward and feel a stretch in the front of that left hip. As you continue through these movements, try and push a little farther each time as long as you don't feel any extra pain or stress on your knee or your pelvis. Great work here. One last one. Push forward and straighten out that leg. Go ahead and come to a standing position. Place your towel and chair off to the side as we won't be needing them for this next exercise. Come to a standing position in the middle of the mat and place both hands on your waist. David's going to take a step forward with his right leg, collapse his arch and allow his knee to dive down and in, and then return, while Trisha completes the same movement but returns her right leg back to the mat. Go ahead and continue this at a nice comfortable pace, allowing that ankle to collapse down to the floor and that knee to dive down and in slightly. Remember, we don't want to place any extra stress or strain on that knee, but what we're trying to do is reprogram the ankle and knee complex how to load in a standing position. Continue stepping forward, loading that ankle, and then return back to your start position. And now let's go ahead and switch sides. So step forward with your left leg, dive that knee down and in, and return. And Trisha's going to take a step forward, dive her knee down and in, and then return back to the mat. Continue at a nice comfortable pace, moving that ankle and that knee as far as you can without placing any extra stress on that knee. With our first two exercises in this module, we were creating range of motion in the knee, and now we're preparing our body in an upright, functional manner for increased loading and unloading. Return back to your mat. For the modified version of this exercise, go ahead and grab a chair and come to a standing position at the top of the mat. Keep your right heel on the ground and take a step forward with your left leg to feel a stretch on your right calf. Then step out to the side at a 45-degree angle, and then step to the other side at a 45-degree angle. You'll notice that for the modified version, David has his left hand on his hip and his right hand on the chair for support and balance. He's continuing to step 3 separate ways, forward, side, and to the other side, so that he feels a good stretch on the back of his right leg and his right calf. Trisha's hands are on her hips, completing the same movement, but she's sinking a little deeper, looking for an increased stretch on her right calf complex. Continue to step forward at all 3 angles, making note to keep your right heel on the ground, your right toes pointed straight forward, and your right leg straight. Great job here. One last round, stepping forward, stepping out to the side at a 45-degree angle, and stepping across your body at a 45-degree angle. Great. Now let's go ahead and switch sides. So keep your left heel on the ground and take a step forward with your right leg and return. Now step out to the right at a 45-degree angle and return. And step out to the left at a 45-degree angle and return. Remember, your left heel stays on the ground so that we're placing extra stress on our left calf so that we gain extra flexibility and range. Your left toes are pointed straight forward to mimic a walking motion, and your left knee is straight so that we are focusing our stretch on the right area. Continue to go through the 3 steps: forward, 45 degrees out to one side, 45 degrees out across your body. Great work here. We're starting to program our left ankle, left knee, and left hip for the trailing phase of walking. One last round here. Step forward and return. Step out to the side and return. And out to the other side and return to your starting position. Go ahead and place your chair off to the side and come to a standing position in the middle of your mat with feet shoulder width apart. We're going to take a step across our body with our left leg and bring our right arm up overhead to feel a stretch on the outside of our right hip. Step out to the side and return while you bring your arm up overhead, noticing to feel a stretch on the outside of the right hip and the outside of the right knee. Maintain a nice controlled motion, not going too fast or too far, and not placing any extra stress on the outside of that hip. Now complete that same motion with your foot, but bring your right arm across your body. You'll notice that this changes where you feel the stretch. With the last movement, we were feeling more of a stretch on the outside of our hip, but with this motion, we should feel a little bit more on the back of that hip. Continue at a nice controlled pace, making sure to step and return and feel a good stretch. Now let's switch sides. Step across your body with your right leg and bring your left hand up overhead to feel a stretch on the outside of that left hip. While we've created range and flexibility in our right knee and started to create some flexibility in the back of our calf, we now need to create more range of motion and flexibility on the outside of our hips. Continue the same motion with your foot and reach your left hand across your body now to feel a stretch on the back of that left hip. Make sure not to twist too much from your spine and create a good reach from your left hand across your body. Great job. One last step here across your body and return. David's going to place his hands on his hips for this next exercise. We're going to take a step forward with our right leg and then return back to our starting position, and then take a step forward with our left leg and return to our starting position. Trisha's more advanced version is causing her to reach up overhead to increase her balance and challenge her foot, ankle, and knee complex. One more on each side. Nice step and return, and then step and return. Now we'll complete that same movement but going side to side. So take a lunge out to the right side with your right leg and return to the middle, and lunge out to the left side and return to middle. David is stepping onto his right leg, pushing his hips back and then returning, while Trisha is stepping out to her left leg, reaching her arms up overhead and then returning. One last lunge to each side, challenging the balance and support of all the structures from our ankle to our knee and to our hip. Now we're going to open up at a 45-degree angle. So step back at a 45-degree angle with your right leg and then return to neutral, and then step back to the left at a 45-degree angle and return to neutral. Maintain a nice controlled posture, placing the weight onto the leg that you step out to, loading it, and then returning back to the center. By stepping in different directions with these lunges, we're challenging the balance of our system and loading our knee and strengthening our hip. Great work. Come to a standing position at the top of your mat facing forward. We're now going to complete a Warrior 2 yoga pose. Take a step out to the side with your right leg at a 45-degree angle. Correct your angle like Trisha did so that your heels are aligned, and sink into the pose. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and as you exhale, sink a little deeper into the pose. Hold for a second, breathe, and then sink, and let's return. Let's complete that sequence again. So step out to a 45-degree angle, heels aligned. Inhale, sink into the pose. Inhale, sink in a little deeper. And inhale, sink in as far as you can in a controlled manner, and then return. One last one on this side. Notice that David keeps his hands on his hips for increased balance, while Trisha's arms come out to the side to challenge her balance. Every time you take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale, sink in a little deeper, challenge your balance a little bit more. Great job. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So start at the other side of your mat. Take a step out with your left leg. Align your left heel and your right heel. Inhale through your nose and sink into the pose a little deeper. Inhale, sink in deeper. And inhale, last one. And return. Great job. We'll complete 2 more of these poses on this side. If you're feeling like the balancing part of the exercise is too challenging, keep your hands on your hips like David is. But if you want to challenge yourself, bring your arms out to the side like Trisha's completing here. And return to the top of your mat. And one last one on each side. With these yoga poses, we're challenging our ankle, knee, and hip in an upright manner so that we're working on the flexibility and the balance in a functional manner. And return. Come to a standing position in the center of your mat for our next exercise. David's going to keep his hands on his hips, take a step forward with his right leg, and then barely lift that left leg off the ground and return. Complete the same movement with the left leg, lift that right leg off the ground and return. Trisha's completing that same lunge to balance, except she has her hands reaching forward to challenge the balance of her legs. Alternate legs, stepping right leg and then left, lifting the back leg as comfortably as you can off the ground to challenge your standing leg. One last one here, and return. Now we're going to complete that same movement side to side. So lunge out to the right side, lift that leg just slightly, and then return back to center. Lunge out to the left, lift that right leg slightly, and return. You'll notice that David doesn't lift his leg quite off the ground and is placing that back toe on the ground for support, while Trisha's reaching her arms up overhead and forward and lifting the back leg completely off the ground to challenge her balance. Last one here to the left. Lift that leg and return. Great job. Now we're going to go at a 45-degree angle. Step out to the right side with your right leg, lift that leg and return. And step out to the left side with your left leg, lift that right leg and return. Continuing to challenge our balance is an important part of our rehabilitation for our knee. Let's continue to step from side to side, lifting that leg just slightly off the ground, challenging our standing leg to support ourselves. Great work. One last one here. Step out to the left, hold for just a second, and return. You've now completed the flexibility and balance module.